Hi guys, how are you today? Welcome back to my channel Adventures in America. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jocelyn, and for today's topic we are going to discuss the latest US travel restrictions and the new presidential proclamation for the entry of non-citizens, non-immigrants, and US citizens. In addition, there are exempted individuals and countries for the requirement of a COVID-19 vaccination for purposes of entry in the US. Before we get started, please like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Regarding the issuance of a proclamation for the regulation of the entry of non-US citizens, it was issued on October 25th. However, US is now open for international tourism. That means that anyone can come to the US, but you must abide with the travel health protocols. It's starting November 8th, and there is now a new US travel system. Also, starting November 8th, the travel ban against 33 countries will finally be lifted after about 20 months. However, there is a new presidential proclamation issued on October 25th governing the entry of non-US citizens. The presidential proclamation clarified the requirement of a COVID vaccine for all US citizens and non-US citizens. The president issued a proclamation to suspend and limit entry into the US for non-US citizens who are non-immigrants seeking to enter the US by air travel and are not fully vaccinated against COVID-19. In addition, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, implemented the said proclamation by an order. The proclamation and CDC's order do not apply to U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, U.S. lawful permanent residents, and immigrants. Also, it's not applicable to air crew members. Now, here is the information for U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, U.S. lawful permanent residents, and immigrants regarding the new U.S. travel requirements starting November 8th. Now, for those applying as immigrants, there is actually a policy of a requirement of a COVID-19 vaccination during your medical examination before you are issued an immigrant visa. Now, for those who are non-citizens or non-immigrants, there are different policies that are applicable. These are important information that you needed to remember so you will not be denied entry in the US. Non-citizens who are non-immigrants and seeking to enter the US are required to show proof of being fully vaccinated before boarding. If you are not fully vaccinated, you will not be allowed to board a flight to the US unless you meet the exemption requirement. Now, these exemptions are only applicable for non-immigrants and non-US citizens. Please remember, COVID vaccination is not applicable for all US citizens or legal permanent residents. There are only specific exceptions. First, persons on diplomatic or official foreign government travel. Second, children under 18 years of age. And third, persons with documented medical contraindications to receiving a COVID-19 vaccination. Fourth, participants in certain COVID-19 vaccine trials. Fifth, persons issued a humanitarian or emergency exception. Six, persons with valid visas excluding B1, B2 from countries with limited COVID-19 vaccination availability. I will provide the information later on in this video. Another exception are members of the U.S. Armed Forces or their spouses or children under 18 years of age. Also, sea crew members traveling with a C1 and D non-immigrant visa, or persons whose entry would be in the national interest as determined by the Secretary of State or Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, for those who are exempted, you must provide an accepted covered individual attestation. For those who are availing of the medical contraindication exemption, there are specific requirements. There must be a letter signed by a licensed physician. Also, the medical contraindications must include immediate or severe allergic reaction after a previous dose or component of a COVID-19 vaccine. If you have objections based on religious or moral convictions, they do not qualify as an exemption under the Presidential Proclamation or the CDC's order. Also, there must be a sufficient identifiable information, and it must match your passport or other travel documents. In addition, airlines may at their discretion require medical consultation by a third party if you are requesting a medical contraindication to receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. Also, you must provide an accepted covered individual attestation. Now, there are countries with limited COVID-19 vaccine availability, and this is current through December 25th, 2021. So based on this list, if you are coming on this list of countries not on a B1, B2, you may be exempted from the COVID-19 vaccination. In addition, you must sign the accepted individual attestation regarding this kind of exemption. For those coming from this list of countries, your valid immigrant visa must not be a B1 or B2 visa. In addition, the airline must confirm that you are a covered individual and you have a passport issued by your country, and this is not for a B1, B2 visa. This list will change or update every 90 days. And this exemption is based on list of countries that have less than 10% vaccination. Now, if you are one of those exempted for the COVID vaccination, there is an important requirement that you will need to attest that you are exempted from the COVID-19 vaccination or presenting a proof of being fully vaccinated. Now, for those who have been exempted from COVID vaccinations, and these are only for non-citizens or non-immigrants. Here are the health protocols. You will be tested with a COVID viral test 3 to 5 days after arrival, and you will have to self-quarantine for a full 7 days. In addition, you will have to self-isolate if you tested positive or developed symptoms. There are strict requirements for coming to the U.S. for non-U.S. citizens. You have arranged to become fully vaccinated against COVID-19 within 60 days of arriving in the U.S. unless you are too young to be vaccinated, such as children below 18 years of age. And this requirement is for those who intend to stay in the U.S. for longer than 60 days. You will have to agree to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Please remember that children below 2 years of age do not need to be tested, and there are also accommodations for people who have documented recovery from COVID-19 in the past 90 days. Now, also based on the Presidential Proclamation, here are the rules for unvaccinated U.S. citizens or U.S. lawful permanent residents. The requirement is that you will need to be tested, or you must have a negative COVID-19 test result taken no more than 1 day before travel. Now, here are the rules for vaccinated U.S. citizens and U.S. lawful permanent residents. First requirement is that you must have a proof of full vaccination, and another requirement is that you must have a negative COVID test result taken no more than 3 days before travel. Please remember the definition of a fully vaccinated individual. You must also present proof of your full vaccination. Now, here is the requirement of a fully vaccinated individual for air travel purposes. Please carefully consider if you are fully vaccinated. If you don't meet these requirements, you are not considered fully vaccinated. Now, let's go over the acceptable proof of COVID vaccination. There are acceptable list of documents provided by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I think these are reasonable proofs. Now, the second requirement is that you must provide a negative COVID test within 3 days of flying. Please remember this is only a requirement for those 2 years old and above. The negative test must be approved by a relevant national authority, and also, as I've mentioned, it is only applicable for 2 years old and above. It must be a viral test. It could be an RT-PCR test or antigen collected within 3 days prior to flight departure. And all of these requirements must be stated in the document providing the negative test. However, there are also additional requirements. The personal identifiers must match your passport or travel documents, and also the test result must be negative. Now, there are standard health protocols after arrival in the U.S., and these are for vaccinated U.S. citizens and U.S. lawful permanent residents. Please remember that these are only recommended precautions once you arrive in the U.S., and these are not mandatory. After arrival, for those vaccinated, there is actually no quarantine. However, for all travelers, it is recommended that you must be tested 3 to 5 days after travel and self-monitor for any symptoms. Now, for those who are unvaccinated, there are also recommended health protocols. Get tested with a viral test 3 to 5 days after travel and self-monitor for symptoms, and in addition, stay home for a full 7 days. Please remember these are only recommended precautions for arriving in the US. Now, the other requirements are you must fill out the customs declaration from the airline, and there is a CDC attestation form that you must fill out before flying to the US. Please remember the updated versions of these forms. In addition, you must also fill out the Traveler Health Declaration form. For those bringing items to the US, there are allowed and prohibited items, so please check the TSA website. For those who wanted an easier screening to the US, you can enroll with TSA pre-check. For those who are asking about the CDC attestation, here is the latest version. This will be provided to you by the airline, and there are actually 3 pages. Please make sure that you read them and sign at the bottom of the page. I will also send the link in my description. Again, thank you guys for tuning into my channel, And if you have any other questions or comments, please post them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you guys for watching. I hope everyone is staying safe and have a great day.